Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We're zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question today, and that is, should I compromise with someone who is narcissistic, someone who has really taken me through a tumble through the weeds, someone who has really kind of taken away my power, and perhaps I feel that I'm asking too much. So I think that is a great viewer question to look at. Should you compromise with someone who is narcissistic or psychopathic even? Now, when we talk about things like family, like raising kids, looking at questions that are come up. Should we do something that's adult, something that's for the kids, something that where we can meet in the middle? Now, with that sort of deficit or gap, you're going to look at compromising, because the parents, need to have some adult time, the kids need to have some kid time, and then also all parties need to have some alone time. So there's going to be naturally compromise built in. However, when you're talking about being neglected, being criticized, being damaged in the level of your self-esteem, we're talking about the esoteric, the etheric field, the emotional body. We're talking about, quote unquote, hurting your feelings, doing damage to your ego, doing damage to your reputation, and how you then feel in your confidence. So we're talking about some pretty serious things that oftentimes are difficult to bounce back from, especially if you have been in that let me compromise mode. And oftentimes, if you give an inch, there will be a taking of a mile, and you will feel unrepresented in the relationship. If you feel unrepresented, unacknowledged, invalidated, ignored, invisible, unheard, then why should this state be a compromise? Oftentimes, with a narcissist, it is all about them, literally, figuratively, 100%. And there's nothing about your needs that come into the picture. With a lack of empathy, it is not really on their to-do list. It's not on their agenda. They're just making sure that you don't complain enough, that you don't speak up enough, and that you don't leave them at the wrong time. So, compromise and meeting in the middle oftentimes is to accept unrepresentation in the relationship. And if you don't feel represented, heard, listened to, or have an ability to interact or collaborate and have input in the relationship, then it feels as much as futile. It's very, very much like you don't have a say, you don't have a vote. And this is not compromise. Although to a narcissist, this might appear as if there is compromise, and that is what they are assuming, expecting, especially through their nonverbal, unspoken contracts, that, in other words, this is the way it's going to be, honey, poopsie, whatever it is. And, whether you like it or not, this is how it's going to be. And a lot of people then feel that because that they might be too needy, that someone else might give them the same ultimatum, that they will just stick around. And this can last for this stage of the devaluation until the discard can last a long period of time, which will mean a long period of time without representation, with just going with the crowd, going with their desires or their lack of desire. And people eventually will feel that they are not growing, that their own roots of self-actualization are not being watered. In fact, it's almost like they're being squeezed out and they're not germinating at all. They can feel very empty, unhappy, and to the point where the body is fatiguing out. The mind is fatiguing out. People get very irritated and they don't know why. Being represented is an important that you look at that aspect in the relationship, and to what degree are you being underrepresented or misrepresented in the relationship. In what degree is that now caused by a communication breakdown with someone who does not want to attend to your needs? They don't have time. They don't have the time of day. They just don't factor it in. They just want to sort of, brush off where you're coming from. They don't want to really listen to it and provide feedback. This is, not compromise. This is misrepresentation. This is suffering. This is not being too needy. With a narcissist, it's basically, one ego that pervades everything. And a lot of people think that they're doing the narcissist a favor by letting that go, also known as enabling. In other words, this is just, how it's going to be. Keep them happy. Don't speak up. Don't, think for yourself. This unequivocally will result in a use it or lose it scenario where you feel like you're losing ground, losing your self-respect, and you feel a sort of loss of energy as well. So if you're in that real fatigue, unable to communicate, listless, and awing a lot, not knowing, you feel that you're, not putting things the right way. You're afraid to make a mistake. You're not going to come off perfect. Either, they ask you to do something. Tell me a story. To, play me this, and it's never good enough. So if you're always sort of on that alarm, then that's a good red flag and something that you can key into to acknowledge that there is someone who is pushing their weight around, who is using their bigger than life ego to basically push out, the room and not allow you enough space and even for you to hold space of your own and to use your communication skills, your thinking skills, your decision-making skills, your critical decision-making skills, your ability to think. This is a process that you need to engage in to keep it strong and sharp. So, putting up and shutting up, allowing yourself to be shut down, allowing yourself to go for days, weeks, and months unhappy, and the resultant stress, which you then internalize, will lead to health issues, if not mental health issues, anxiety, anger, listlessness, apathy, not taking care of yourself, not, keeping a routine, not having a good sleep hygiene, not keeping up with your residence, your work schedule, calling off work, calling off sick, not going to your regular events that you usually enjoy, not doing the things that regularly interest you, just letting them go because all of a sudden this person is looming over you more important than you are yourself. So that becomes a loss of perspective, a loss of really sort of resonating with yourself. And if you can't resonate with yourself, if you can't live in your strengths and live in your truth, then it's very difficult for others to as well. And so it becomes an exercise of futility. And real quick, while we're getting on it, I've received a lot of questions about the membership and it's not being visible. I have confirmed with YouTube that there is a join tab on the homepage, very clear, and so you should be able to join your memberships there if you've been looking for that. And I guess on the iPad that it's not showing up, we're posting the links to join the new Peace and Harmony membership, where you can get more in-depth discussion and tools and resources and that sort of system moving forward to help you really get a grasp on this if you've been grappling with it. And so definitely let me know if the page is unresponsive. You can also contact YouTube to let them know with any difficulty in the help section. So it should be a live link for you. And definitely feel free to join the new Peace and Harmony memberships, but keep me posted if you're still having issues. And so now, with that understanding of compromise, once again, just circling back. So if there are kids, who are at a whole different level, then there's going to be a degree of compromise. But, it's something that, as parents, usually they enjoy. They enjoy putting on the kids' movies, reading the kids' books, things of that nature, going over their homework, helping them get ready for their school, planning vacations, planning time to do things on the weekend. So there's going to be that compromise, but usually there's not a suffering as a result. If so, then you need to check some things out and making sure that things you're represented and they're growing and getting to know their parents on more than just a role level, but as a personal level, I feel. And so, you have to really understand to what degree is that compromise, misrepresentation, underrepresentation, not being included, or being treated exclusively. In other words, maybe you don't get to share an email with your spouse, that they're like, or their banking account, or certain things which, you want to share, but that aren't shared, and to what degree is this causing trepidation and concern, where, they have their email and their login and you can't know anything about it, and they have their phone and it's your phone, and, there is oftentimes this lack of sharing, a lack of coming together, a lack of equal representation. And that's not how the relationship should look like. So if you're still grappling with this, make sure that you make a list of some things, to become aware of what have you given up and what have you sacrificed in the relationship, and to what degree is that worth it for you? What are your sacrifices? Is it time? Is it money, consideration, giving? To what degree then are you sacrificing too much and not receiving enough? This can be also a problem if people then feel that they're always having to give up or sacrifice, and they get into sort of a Mother Teresa syndrome where, self-sacrifice, altruism, selflessness seems like the higher road. If I sacrifice, if I never talk about myself, well, that must be desirable, just to focus on the other person. Won't they just indulge in that, and won't that just be the ultimate gift in a relationship? Well, that's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you. Because why should you be selfless, altruistic, have no needs, and always be trying to support others? To what degree is that sustainable? That's oftentimes not a sustainable approach towards relationships, not being represented and being too altruistic. And then there's the ensuing guilt when it comes time for you to actually take care of yourself. There's all sorts of viewers who I've worked with, they have trouble eating, they have trouble going to the doctor, getting medication, getting, help for themselves, going to the dentist, having their own credit, having things in their name because they just are so used to allowing the other to say, let me take care of this, let me take care of that. Either that or the flip side, where they have to take care of everything, and then the narcissist or the other party doesn't have to have any responsibilities, and it never becomes a point of contention because it's never being looked at. It's just, let me just deal with it, it's easier that way. And that can be very derogatory and insultory, and you're not getting the experience that you need. So, make sure you do kind of a self-check and sort of scan your heart and your subconscious, and to say, to what degree, am I sacrificing too much? Am I not taking the helm? To what degree am I not taking accountability to myself? To what degree am I procrastinating and being neglectful of my true needs because I'm so used to the Mother Teresa syndrome, or the over-obligating, or the codependent, system, where people just, feel satisfied just so long as they're taking care of other people. And then having interests and pursuits of their own feel foreign, not desirable, they're ineffective, inert, and so their own life becomes null and void. And then, people might say, well, get a life. You might hear people saying that in a condescending way. And that's not a fun space. And it can be difficult to sort of crawl out of. So yes, the answer is yes, you need to be represented. Sometimes there is compromise, but not to the point where you're defunct, you're inert, you feel that your life and your desires are null and void, and that it's the altruistic, maybe if I just be selfless, that this is, the right way to live. Give everybody the piece of steak first. I'll take the heel end. Everybody else gets served first. I'm the last. Everybody else gets to be listened to. I'm last. I don't want to appear too needy. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I'm afraid of being imperfect. all these fears are holding you back. So you need to kind of exercise your communication. You need to put it out there. You need to speak up. You need to speak up. You need to ask. And then if you're not used to speaking up, then speak up to yourself. It's about time that it's about time that I went to my doctor appointment. It's about time that I went to the dentist. It's about time that I got a job. It's about time that I have my own credit. It's about time that I pursue some interests. It's about time that I learn to work out. It's about time that I learn a new trade or skill. It's about time that I, repair this. It's about time that I redo the bathroom. What are some things that you've been putting off, usually because you put everything else and everybody else first? Look at that list and begin to at least address one or two from those lists, if not, the bulk of them in the upcoming weeks and month, so that you can check them off your list. And then by doing that, by checking them off your list, you'll get the ball rolling and you'll feel a sense of empowerment by doing that. You'll feel a sense that you're actually, being able to assert your will and be assertive and follow through, even little things. It's about time that I cleaned out that drawer, that cabinet, that closet. I cleaned the car. I repaired the tires. Whatever it is, it's about time that people procrastinate. So oftentimes those areas are pockets where too much passivity, too much compromise, too much sacrifice, too much fear has taken precedence, has, gotten the best of the situation. So look at that list and keep that list out and look at them and do them. Just go ahead. Stop stopping yourself. Stop inhibiting yourself. Stop hindering yourself. Stop talking yourself out of it, that it's miserable, unhappy. Find something to make that task enjoyable, whether you're playing music, videos, podcasts, you're humming to yourself, whistling, whatever it is that you need to do that keeps you happy, and then give yourself the reward for a job well done once you complete it. Give yourself the recovery gift, doing something that lets you know, as you're speaking to your subconscious, that I am moving forward and I'm acknowledging and validating myself in that special mission moving forward. And you don't have to discuss it and share it with the world. It can be for your heart only, and knowing that you are on the right path to acknowledging and validating and helping to represent yourself and pull yourself out. That is the root of education, educare, which is to pull out, to draw out. So you might need to, do some education. You might need to do some remedial courses. You might not need to get some skills training. You might need to look at, if you were once upon a time of this, that, or the other, you might want to ignite those skills. You might want to pull those out and, get back to it and do a little bit something that gives you pleasure. And making sure that your pleasure is paramount, because really when it comes to your own wellness, and you need assistance, you're going to have to be the one to walk to the doctor's office. You're going to be the one that needs to walk to the dentist. You're the one who's going to need that assistance, and you need to be, accountable. You want to be knowledgeable about what is going on with yourself in your life, especially those areas that you might have been neglecting because you're so consumed with taking others. Take stock of those today and begin to invest some time, and if need be, money, so you can get those areas and pockets developed and on track for yourself. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony. I hope that the videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and please join the new Peace and Harmony memberships for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. You've got this. You can begin to look at that list, and don't be shy. Don't shriek back. Don't say, I can't do it. Say, I have got this. You have got this. Break it down into reasonable steps. Begin to make a little bit of progress. That's all you need. Have a beautiful day.